on a random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about history and nostalgia, but more importantly, the preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. With me, as always, the homie Tony of IntoTheDome.com. What's good, bruh?
What's up, man? Drinking some ginger, cayenne, lemon juice, all this good healthy stuff tonight, man. So no beer tonight, man. What's going on?
That's beer in other countries. Maybe a third world country. They like, this is some good beer and shit. But yo, you know what I'm saying? If you're tuning in for the first time, where have you been? We got like 50 episodes, but nevertheless, you're never too late for this type of content. And we just want to let you know, man, we do this out of the passion and the love for hip hop music and culture. No Patreon, no GoFundMe. Tone paid for his equipment like I paid for mine, and we bringing it all together to provide this content for you. So show your support by hitting subscribe, hitting that like button if you like it, and more importantly, sharing it with people. Content. Now, we like to do a little thing called This Week in Hip Hop. And let me get my notes right, because I want to make sure I get it right, because you know the hip hop police be watching. But the date is December 15th, 1992. Dr. Dre's debut solo album, The Chronic, was released. And Tone, we both hip hop heads, so we got stories about this album. But let me just start you off with this. First time you heard The Chronic, what was your thoughts as a hip hop fan about the album, Dr. Dre, all of it?
The East Coast is in trouble. You know, like I was amazed by it, man, because again, I had heard Snoop on that deep cover joint. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, Dre got a protege. He sounds dope. I figured he'd probably be part of the Chronic, and you know, and obviously with the legacy of NWA and knowing Dr. Dre was the main person behind the production, I was like, you know, I was expecting something amazing. And man, when I heard it, it absolutely blew my mind. Seeing the videos first on BET, like Nothing But a G Thing was legendary. Then Let Me Ride, and then leading up to getting that album, man, I remember just hitting play and just the intro. You know, when Snoop was talking, he started off laughing at the beginning of it, and he was just like, you know, he was kind of like just setting the tone, man. It was aggressive, you know what I'm saying, the way he set that tone, and even this Eazy-E, you know what I'm saying, said, what's up, Ren? You know what I'm saying? And you know, it just kind of set that tone and went right into to the tracks, man. And it was an amazing album. It blew me away, man. I mean, I know we'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, man, but my initial hearing the album, it exceeded any expectations I could imagine for Dr. Dre. I mean, when I heard it, I was like, this better than Straight Outta Compton. This better than Niggas for Life. You know, this better than Easy Does It. You know what I'm saying? It's at that moment, I was like, okay, this is the greatest West Coast album up to that moment for me. And that's, you know, that's just what I thought when I heard it. You know what I'm saying? And that's even including, you know, and we can, you know, that's another debate, the Ice Cube solo albums. Yeah, I think at that time, they had America's Most Wanted and a Death Certificate, both being released before the Chronic. You know what I'm saying? And they both was classic. But when hearing the Chronic, I was like, I think this is now the standard for West Coast hip hop, man. But what about you when you first heard it?
I saw I used to do this thing when I was younger, like just go to the record store, whether I had money or not. Like if I had money, it was just like I just needed to go every week. And I remember whether it was something to go get or not. And I remember I went to this mom and pop joint, and I was looking through their music, just looking for something to buy. And I remember seeing the cover because the album was already out. I hadn't saw the video, so I didn't really even know. I wasn't paying attention to to the video scene as much, not enough to catch it because everything was brand new. But I remember I was going through like the cassettes, and I saw something that said Dr. Dre and the Chronic, and I was just thinking like, is this some kind of like bootleg with some fake Dr. Dre, some other dude, like some blues singer or something with the same name? You know what I'm saying? I just didn't trust it, especially, being in the mom and pop spot. And I pulled the tape out, and then I see Dr. Dre on the cover. And at first I was just like, this got to be bootleg, man. Look at this cover. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I remember looking at the back, and I remember when I saw some of the titles, I was like, nah, this some West Coast gangster shit, because look at the title of these records.
Right.
And I remember asking the guy that worked there, and he was like, yeah, nah, that's new Dr. Dre album. It just came out. And I was like, oh, give me that. Because, I'm a big NWA fan, big Ice Cube fan. And I remember taking the bus home, not having heard really anything. I think I heard Nothing But a G Thing, but I think I heard the beat. But, didn't watch the video or didn't hear the full song, didn't know who was who. Obviously heard Deep Cover. But I remember when that album came on, and I was like, oh, Snoop Doggy Dogg's on here from Deep Cover. And I was just like, it didn't even take getting through. It took the intro and the first song to tell me that this album was going to be great, because it just had that vibe. It already set the tone. It already put me in the mood. And I remember thinking like, yo, I'm not talking about that. I was just late to the party. But obviously went through the whole album, was excited. It's nothing like discovering something that you didn't know about, and the shit is a classic. You know what I'm saying? It's just it was just an incredible album. And production wise, you got all these new MCs on here. Everybody's nice. Then you got recognizable people, obviously, like Dr. Dre, Bushwick Bill. I just didn't expect this album, man, and for it to come out the way it did and be a bona fide classic. Now, what did you think? Because I relied on the source heavy back then, and I remember looking at the review after I already had the album. So, Tone, when you saw how many mics the source gave Dr. Dre's The Chronic, what was your thoughts about the magazine, the album? Did you rethink what you were liking about the album, or did you feel like the source just got it wrong?
I thought the source got it wrong from the review. Now, again, we talking 1992, 93 time period. The source was everything. So I know you were upstate, New York and Jersey and everything. I'm in North Carolina, but the source was just as important for us down here as it was for you guys. It was the source. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. So when I saw the review, I was like, 4.5 mics. You know what I'm saying? This is the highest 5. Well, it need to be a 5 then. You know what I'm saying? This thing totally changed West Coast hip hop and hip hop in general. It made a lot of East Coast guys go back to the drawing board again, and it just really pushed West Coast to the forefront of hip hop and prepared us for the next year when Snoop Dogg Style came out. I mean, what Ice Cube was doing, because Ice Cube had a window 90 to almost to around 92, where he was probably the number 1 MC. You know what I'm saying? Or right there at it. And Dr. Dre just kind of took that to another whole level as far as the West Coast thing. You know what I'm saying? I won't put Snoop over Cube at that time until maybe Doggy Style dropped in terms of popularity, maybe. But he just elevated West Coast and elevated hip hop, and the source did get it wrong. They did go back, of course, years and years later when they did an issue where they talked about the mistakes they made over the years, and they gave quite a few albums a perfect rating. And of course, they did that for The Chronic, but I don't know how you missed that. I don't know who the reviewer was or the panel. How do you miss that when just, 2 years before that, well, not even 2 years before that, you gave Tribe Called Quest, People Instinctive Trap was 5 mics. You know what I'm saying? And Tribe was my favorite group. You know what I'm saying? But that's like the third best Tribe album in their discography. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, how do you miss it? Now, I wasn't mad they gave the Low End Theory 5 mics, the year before The Chronic. That's cool. But both of them was like landmark albums in their own right, the Chronic and Low End Theory. So I'm really not sure how they missed it, man. Could it be West Coast bias? I don't know. Maybe they just didn't get it. Maybe it was too gangster with tracks like "Bitches Ain't Shit," you know what I'm saying? And something as rugged as "Little Ghetto Boys." Maybe it was too much for. Maybe it had that gangster West Coast element that we weren't quite ready for. You know what I'm saying? After NWA, I don't know, man. What did you think?
I thought I was thinking how they get it wrong. I don't think it was any East Coast bias because again, Ice Cube was like my favorite, and he was covered in that, you know, in that magazine a lot. I think it was a case, and it happens on all kinds of publications. The reviewer you put on the album, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have the right person to review the album, you know, and not necessarily like, oh, let's go get the West Coast cat, but let's get a guy that understands the music and understands different styles and what's a classic. Because it, like we just said it, when we hit play, we knew instantly. We ain't have to write no articles. We just knew off of feeling and being hip hop heads. But one thing that I don't take away from them for doing that, and I kind of didn't, I understood why they did it, but I kind of didn't like that they did it. And maybe this was the media side of me kind of brewing back then. But kind of reneging on decisions you made in the past, because albums age, and that's kind of what make them classics. But what you rated in the moment, you know, even though most people felt like it was a classic in the moment, there are a lot of albums that are great in the moment, but are they really classics? You know what I'm saying? And like, what's a classic? So I think they were just trying to, you know, take care of their credibility by saying, you know, because people will look back and be like, well, how the hell you ain't give the, like, how y'all didn't give the Chronic 5 mics? You know what I'm saying? But it was just a mistake on their part. But nevertheless, I think you hit the nail on the head when it came to the East Coast, because me as a dude who's on the East Coast, around that time when the Chronic came out, the majority of the East Coast was about skill and style, more style than skill. So the videos were colorful, with a lot of dancing. You know what I'm saying? We all loved it, like Blue Cheese, Lisa New Quest. We all loved all of that, but it was more playful. You know what I'm saying? And West Coast, even before then, was more like, no, this is what's happening in the neighborhoods. And it wasn't until the Biggies, the Nas, the Wu-Tangs, and all that the East Coast said, oh, well, let's talk about what's happening in our hood. You know, no more dancing, East Coast stomp, you know, cross-color outfits and stuff like that. But yeah, the West Death Row was a force.
And you know,
over, like, because it was big in New York.
And and at the same time, too, the Chronic was basically the soundtrack to the Rodney King incident and the LA riots and those police getting off for that atrocity. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it was cool to hear some of the live filming outside of the riots. They incorporated that into some of the skits on the album. You know what I'm saying? So it was real. The Chronic was, you know, and again, some of the people who was part of the Chronic went out there and was walking around looting with the looters. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of brought it all full circle, man. And again, it kind of continued the West Coast run of NWA into Ice Cube into Death Row, man. And it was just a moment of time in hip hop that we'll never forget, because the Chronic is a staple in hip hop. The Chronic is probably the best engineered hip hop album in history. I still stand by that. I had it on in the car a couple of weeks ago. It's the loudest, clearest, best put together album I've heard in hip hop. It sounds like it just came out yesterday. The CD, you pop the CD in right now, and I bought it in 1992. It's loud, it's clear. I mean, it's just what he did on the engineering side was pretty remarkable, man.
Yeah, and I wish I was more on point, because my original Chronic tape that I told the story about is sitting right over there in a box. Just one of those things you just can't get rid of for nostalgia purposes and stuff like that, man. But what did y'all think about the Chronic? You know what I'm saying? Whether you were around then or you enjoyed it later as a youngster who discovered hip hop, leave your comments in the comment section below. But now we're going to get into the main topic at hand. And if you don't know, we're talking about the year that was or is or whatever time you're watching this, 2019 and in hip hop in 2019. But we're going to do it a little bit different. So Tone, set the table, set the stage for the listeners.
Well, first, let me say this. Looking back at 2019, there's a lot of ways to look at 2019 because, and just let me play around with this for a minute to anyone listening. People often say that hip hop has lost its way, that hip hop is not like it used to be. The radio used to play this, that, and the third. That they don't do it anymore. I don't hear that kind of style of hip hop that made me fall in love, etc., etc. Let me say this: 2019 was a very good year for hip hop. You know what I mean? And to say otherwise to me is fans who are being quite spoiled and lazy. You know what I mean? Because 2019 provided a lot of dope music. It provided some mainstream successful people. It provided underground flavor and feels. It provided boom bap. It provided joints for the club. It provided joints for the radio and for the strip clubs. You had West Coast artists making good music. You had down south and New York influenced artists making good music. So that's the thing that's always kind of funny. I've heard people talk over the last few months like this hasn't been a good year, but it has been actually a very good year that we're going to go into detail about. And I actually think that it continued from what we got in 2018. I think 2018 was one of the stronger recent years, and I think that 2019 took the baton and kept doing it. And I'm hoping that in 2020 that we see that elevates again even more, and some of our favorite artists drop new material, and some of our legendary artists drop new material, man. So I felt like 2019 was a very dope year. But let me also just give you a few albums that we can go into detail about. You give me some. Looking at 2019, Skyzoo drops The Retropolitan with Pete Rock. So for me personally, I get 2 Pete Rock projects in 2019, and it's the same Pete Rock that I grew up on in 1992. We're talking about The Chronic, well, Making the Soul Brother and stuff like that was dropping around that time. You know, when I'm in high school, now I'm in my mid-40s, still get Pete Rock in my mid-40s, same way I got Pete Rock when I was 15. You know what I'm saying? Skyzoo is a very dope MC, so I get both of them together, put together my favorite album of the year. He has a style he's a Brooklyn guy, so he has that style. All right, I got Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. Madlib is still from the tree of the Q-Tips, Dillers, and all of those guys that I loved in the 90s. He's still making great music. He links up with Freddie Gibbs again. Freddie Gibbs has a very unique voice, unique style. He can sound like a West Coast or down south from New York even. You know what I'm saying? So you get that project, right? So I'm sitting there like, okay, I got both of those. Then, me being in my mid-40s, I get Diamond D. Drops an album this year. Great album called the Dime Piece, something like that. He has the whole DITC on it. It's AP and Fat Joe and everyone. He has Talib Kweli on there, Pharoah Monch on there. You know, all of these Pete Rock on there again. You know what I'm saying? I get more Pete Rock again. You know what I'm saying? With Diamond D project. Then a lot of people complaining about, oh, hip hop is just on the female MC side, Cardi B and Nicki and Megan Thee Stallion. Well, Rhapsody, right here from North Carolina, drops another dope album, Eve. Amazing album, very critically acclaimed. You know what I'm saying? To balance out, you know, what Megan and you know everyone else is doing, which is no diss to no one, but Rhapsody is spitting the bars I like. You know what I mean? And then one last one real quick, and you know, you can share some, and then I got a lot more to talk about, is The Game drops an album called Born to Rap. You know what I'm saying? Now, some people loved it. Some people didn't really give it a chance because his style of dropping names and stuff. He the reason why I'm naming Born to Rap because he actually paid homage to like Nas Rewind and a Biggie joint, all these joints, because it's hip hop. So he paid some homage, man, in that Born to Rap album. Amazing production and everything like that. So that's just 5 cases that I'm putting out there. Like, yo, it didn't fall off. It kind of rode the wave from 2018, man. What's some of your thoughts about 2019 and some maybe a couple of albums that come to mind?
All right. Well, for 2019 as a whole, I think it was a good year. I think it had some momentum coming from 2018, which was a phenomenal year. Like I really think some straight up hip hop classics dropped in 2018. And I think, it inspired a couple of dudes and a couple of people people I didn't even expect albums to like really like that. You know what I'm saying? Or albums I didn't even know was coming out. I think it was a good year. Now I'm not 5. I'm gonna save that for Hip Hop Now podcast. But it was I judged the years as far as my top 5 on how difficult it is to get that 5. And I don't mean like, well, it's not enough good music. I mean like, what am I not putting in my top 5? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you find that difficult, that means it was a good year. Like, for example, Big Crit put out an album called Crit Is Here. I mean, I don't know what Def Jam was doing with this brother, but the last 2 projects he's had not on Def Jam have been dope to me, and it reminded me why I liked him, why I liked his music, why I like his lyrics. And even today I was listening, I was in the gym, and I'm kind of going over a lot of these albums from this year, and I'm listening, and I'm like, man, this album is just dope. It just does everything on all kinds of levels. Like if there's anyone who loves Outkast and is looking for not an imitation, but a branch off of that Outkast tree, a branch off that Dungeon Family tree, or that UGK tree, Big Crit is it. Like, he embodies it. He's a producer and a rapper. So phenomenal album. Benny the Butcher, man. Plugs I Met. This was more of a collaborative album. Yeah. A collaborative album to drop with a lot of guest features, more of an EP, but nevertheless still dope. Still, the repeat value was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Just a dope album. And one thing I wanted to touch on for this year and gave us some pretty good music was reunions and comebacks from some of our favorites. Ghostface dropped an album called Ghostface Killers, which to me is the best Ghostface album he's had in a little while. You know what I'm saying? Because he's released some projects. I think Seasons was the last Ghostface album I actually liked. Like, man, I started to kind of write him off. Like, he's just not releasing what he used to.
Yeah.
Ghostface Killers, videos, the records. It's the Ghostface you love and know. Another one, Gang Starr drops an album. We ain't see that coming. You know what I'm saying? Gang Starr drops a new album. Little Brother comes back. It was just one of those things where, on top of like some of the dope stuff that Tone named, we also had like some of our favorite artists not only coming back, but stepping it up with these strong projects and these strong albums, man. And I just think it just made for a really good year. Like, I can't see anybody complaining, saying nothing really came out, because there's a lot of stuff that we haven't even named, you know what I'm saying, that also came out that, was worth, man. But what do you think about, what do you think? Okay, so we talking about 2019 and we talked about 2018 and how it's phenomenal. I think 2018 created some momentum to do something different with hip hop that 2019 is currently doing. Do you think like that quality of music set a standard that we're probably going to see going forward, even like as far as radio hip hop artists or radio friendly hip hop artists?
Well, on the radio side, radio is going to be radio. So if you're on a major label and stuff like that, there's going to be certain type of songs that they expect you to release, you know, to play on the radio, play in the clubs and stuff like that. So, and getting streams and stuff. So in that regard, the last few years, there's a certain kind of, I don't know, I guess, format that's going to be there. But in terms of the more musically inclined to me and lyrically inclined albums, I feel like 2018 was so strong in that category that a lot of rappers this year were rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really couldn't do so much playing around because, you know, you had, you know, Pusha T Daytona in 2018. You had, you know, Sky Zoo back to back. He had that in Celebration of Us in 2018. And, you know, Black Thought had 2 projects, Strings of Thoughts 1 and 2, which was lyrical masterpiece, lyrical, like, PhD type of rhyming. You know what I'm saying? And Rastafari 9 dropped the Book of Ryan, which is maybe his best project of his career. You know what I'm saying? And Nipsey Hussle dropped the Victory Lap. Rest in peace to Nipsey. He dropped the Victory Lap. Amazing piece of work, body of work that he did. And, you know, Benny the Butcher, you said something about the EP, the plugs, but just last year he dropped that Tana Talk 3, which reminded me of Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth. You know what I'm saying? So you got these guys going.
Yeah.
You know, J. Cole dropped the KOD. I mean, last year was phenomenal. You know what I'm saying, in terms of bodies of work. So I think this year these artists had no choice but to step it up with the production, with the lyrics, making sure they wasn't just trying to throw something together just for the sake of throwing something together. I think that most of the MCs this year, even if you feel like 2018 was stronger, I think that a lot of guys this year and females felt like there's a standard here. I want to make sure it don't look like I'm just trying to just, you know what I'm saying, breeze through it. You know what I'm saying? They want their music to stick. And I think a lot of stuff next year, people will look back at some projects this year and say, you know what? They stuck, man. And people did a good job, man. But I do believe 2018 momentum did, you know, push a lot of people to do what they did this year.
You want to talk about momentum from 2018, Griselda Records, we thought they were bubbling in 2018. 2019, they're kind of stepping out a little bit further. When you look at Tana Talk 3 and, Everybody is Food and all those different projects that they put out like 2018 and was kind of building that momentum and then cashing in on the Shady Records signage, West Side Gun and Bandit Man deals with Roc Nation, which just gives them more exposure. Up hardcore boom bap, and I think that's something that I don't know if it's going to translate to the radio, but I do like the idea that more exposure, which means it'll influence more and more rappers to take those chances and rap like that because people like it. You know what I'm saying? It's what hip hop is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't even think the radio is important anymore to artists like Griselda because at some point, late '90s, we did hear "Quiet Storm" by Mobb Deep on the radio. We did. It was censored, but we heard certain songs on the radio. But I don't think certain kind of artists now, because of technology, it matters because record labels now have artists having their own YouTube pages. You know what I'm saying? They have their own YouTube pages. You know, they have other streaming ways to stream their music and get and monetize off of it. So I don't even think that the radio for a certain kind of artist. Now, if you're more of a pop artist, rapper, or what have you, then the radio and the club is important. But for Griselda, look how far they came to these big management deals with Eminem and Jay-Z. They did all this from grassroots, man, from straight hardcore rhyming, like, in the trunk mixtape type thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a new technology with that, man. So they don't even need it. You know what I'm saying? Because right now you can log on, build your YouTube. You have a platform. You know what I'm saying? So I think,
Yeah.
but yeah, Griselda rise is very impressive. You know, they've gotten the respect of all these heavyweights in the industry. You know what I'm saying? You got all the heavyweights who want to work with them. You know what I'm saying? I think that also is very legendary for right now. When I say legendary, they're not legends. I'm saying legendary in what they're doing because it takes you back to what your 50 Cents did with the mixtapes and and people like that. You know what I'm saying? So now a lot of other up and coming MCs can look at Griselda Blueprint, which has been done before, but for this generation, it's new again almost. You know what I'm saying? Like they really grinded.
Yeah.
And so I think that there'll be another crew at some point. It could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now that I believe will have a chance to do what Griselda is doing because before them I thought it was Joey Badass and his crew, the Pro Arrow, whatever those guys. I thought that they were gonna be larger because all those guys could rap. You know what I'm saying? And Joey Badass was like the face of them. He still is doing work and he can rap. But Griselda took all of that stuff and just went through the underground.
Yeah. And like you said, I think that's what's most impressive about it because it's something that shouldn't be catching much traction, in 2019. Because yeah, sure, we hip hop heads, we on it, we been on it, you know what I'm saying, before it was popping. But the thing is it's getting bigger than that. Like it's getting bigger than being a hip hop head that's in a forum or on a website or in a group chat, spreading the word about what's dope. It's going beyond that. It's starting to catch the attention of the casuals. The casual people buried in it, looking for it, you know what I'm saying, ingesting it every day. And that's what kind of makes it dope. Just to see, that thread. Now, I guess the other thread, Tony, you can chime in on this, is it seems like we don't have the one female MC anymore. Because remember, for a good while, it was like they let Nicki Minaj in and that was it. Like, I think Remy had to come out of jail for there to sort of be another one. But it was Nicki Minaj or bust. Now, every day, it's a new, Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I'm saying? It's Cardi B, who was also last year. Nicki did try to put an album out, but then retired. What's that Hot Girl Summer? It was them, you know what I'm saying? And then obviously it was Rhapsody. But do you think, and I wanted to pose this question for you, do you think this is a good trend? Because this year in 2019, Jermaine Dupri, who we did an episode on, called it stripper rapping because he didn't really seem like a Latifah or the Brat or Lil Kim or Foxy. He just saw it as chicks that look and dress like strippers making songs that you would probably hear in a strip club, and it's not really art. Do you think having that being so popular and having someone like Rhapsody put out a dope album celebrating women but not having the same accolades, do you think that's a problem trending forward?
Well, you know what? Every era of hip hop, has a start and end date. You know what I'm saying? At some point, maybe it'll die down some. Right now, yeah, the strip clubs are large and you need certain artists to have joints that's going to play in them, male or female. I mean, Lil Kim and Trina and Foxy Brown and all of them, they had songs that people was playing in strip clubs in 1997. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever the case may be, so I can't really be mad. I do think that it'll continue for another year or two. Everything has a season when it comes to music, and it'll always still be made. But at some point, they won't be at the forefront. Maybe the Megan and Carter won't be at the forefront because it will play out at some point. It'll fade to black a little bit, but people still make joints that's gonna be in the strip club. You know what I'm saying? Now, just real quick on the Rhapsody thing, the MC Lyte thing. MC Lyte came out at a time where there was a lot of competition with the male MCs, but also she was being pushed. She was on videos. You know, she's on self-destruction and all this stuff. So people was giving her a boost. Now, yeah, Rhapsody might have a management deal with Jay-Z, and of course she's still heavily produced by Ninth Wonder down here, and she's on Jamla Records. But you know what? If Rock Nation and Jamla and Young Guru and Ninth Number, you know, with Jay's blessing, really want her to be even more famous, then damn it, Jay-Z need to do a verse for her. You know what I'm saying? You want to take this, you want to take Rhapsody over the top. She's put out about 10 projects. You know what I'm saying? Dope music. Got a Grammy nod. She's very well known and respected in the industry. But you know what? Maybe this next album, because she said she did about 80 songs over the last 2 or 3 years. So you know what? Let's say next fall she drops another album. Well, how about this? How about y'all really do some family stuff and not be on some political BS? Have Beyonce do a hook for her on one song and Jay-Z do a verse for her on one song and blow this female, this MC out of the water. Push her for real instead of just saying I co-sign her. Nah, man. You're going to co-sign her. Jay-Z do a verse for her. Have Beyonce to do a hook for her. You know what I'm saying? Do something with Destiny Child. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So you can't get mad at the Megans and the Carters and all that. If the machine done push them. You know what I'm saying? So if the machine ain't going to push people like Rhapsody, then this is what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, she'll continue to keep making dope music, tour, live a good, solid life in her music. And I'm happy for her. But I believe that she has what it takes to be the Lauryn Hill, MC Lyte, and all them, you know, in hip-hop if they push to the next level.
Yeah, and it's kind of annoying because I'm not going to pretend like I don't like certain records by, you know, Cardi B or even Lizzo, but I think if it's frustrating when somebody like Rhapsody puts out one of the best female hip hop albums of all time. I feel comfortable saying that because it's there lyrically, beat wise, concept wise, it's everything. It's damn near perfect. And
it's possibly a top 5 female rap album ever. It's probably a top 5.
Absolutely. It's definitely worth debating. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's liking her style is subjective. Some people don't, some people do. That I get. Treating it like a checklist, right? We get excited for, you know, City Girls and, you know, some jams and parties and stuff like that. Records that promote that, stripper, twerking, all that stuff. But then we acknowledge Rhapsody, but we ain't really into it. You know what I'm saying? We don't really support it. And I don't feel like she ain't talking about anything that's unrelatable to any type of hip hop fan. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're a young lady or a young man or whatever. And I agree, man. I feel like, go ahead. Yeah.
Just real quick, just back on my little tangent I said about Jay now, man. And this is, you know, again, just my thoughts. I think that Rock Nation, to me, totally dropped the ball with this Eve album. Because the fact that it is potentially a top 5 female album all time, this would have been a perfect time for Jay-Z to really push this joint.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to really do a verse, man. I want to do a remix on one of these joints right now. You know what I'm saying? And take it over the top. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I really like that Cleo joint on there. That's a Jonah joint with J. Cole is dope. I mean, it has a lot of the Feeny joint is dope. Just have Jay just jump on one, man. Like, push her over the top, man. Because I still feel like, even though hip-hop purists, even Puff was listening to the joint on IG. And we're like, yo, Rhapsody got me excited. You know what I'm saying? That was big for him to do that. Cardi B talked about on IG, all these people with these big platforms. But Jay is the Don. You know what I'm saying? Nobody hold more weight than Jay-Z.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree because he's kind of done that with Rock Nation. With Rockefeller, I ain't gonna front. There were times where I'm like, okay, Jay, you know, why you got a song on Beans album? Like, there was times where his presence was a little overbearing, especially for Bleak. But with Rock Nation, I noticed the trend because this was with J. Cole and everything. Remember, it was the trend that J. Cole can't get a verse from Jay-Z and he on his label. You know what I'm saying?
It's nuts.
And you look at Nation, you know it's Jay-Z, but you wouldn't know because the Lox put out an album, Lil Kim put out an album, Rhapsody put out albums, J. Cole put out albums, and you would never know this is Jay-Z's thing because he's really like stayed away from it. And I think I agree. Like there was a time back in the days where, you know, you had a hot album, you had a little bit of momentum going in, and sure, they had some guest appearances that showed they put a little money behind this. But like you said, man, take that hot record, that one record that's the club record, that's the, you know, this could cross over a little bit. And like you said, man, throw Jay on that. They just gonna be thirsty for the new Jay verse anyway. So then you kind of give people the gateway into Rhapsody as opposed to saying, you know, just she's real hip hop.
I hate politics. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's terrible. But nevertheless, a great album. What y'all think about it? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Now, Tone, here's another question I got for you. And this relates to 2018. It's a lot of dope music out, but it's almost too much. 2019 come, it's like the same thing. It was a little light in the winter of 2019. In the spring, it like just kicked up, and it was like every 5 minutes. And then not too long ago in the fall, like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, it was bananas. Like it was like 5 joints that you really, really want to hear dropping all the same day, like Black Moon returning.
Yep.
And you just can't. You can't listen to all of it because it's too much. You're not absorbing everything. Do you feel like 2018 started a bad trend for 2019 where just some people projects ain't gonna get listened to?
I think this has been slowly manifesting over the last 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like I think last year might have been the straw, but it's been kind of slowly happening for 4 or 5 years now. Where I remember several years ago, I was finding out certain albums were dropping or had dropped, and I'm like, I didn't even know it was out. You know what I mean? And I always took pride in, you know, because us, you know, our era growing up, we went to the record store on Tuesdays and cop whatever was new each Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? And you know, stuff like that. Sometimes it might be a Friday sale or whatever, but or you didn't have no money, you went to the weekend to go to the store and get a record store and get your joints. But you know, it got over a couple of years, past couple of years, I can't keep up. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's still some albums I haven't heard this year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it took me months to hear Eric Sermon joint. I didn't even hear the Black Moon joint until a couple weeks after it came out, and you know, just different projects, man. And so I guess it's a beautiful thing for hip hop, but it also makes everyone attention span even shorter because something is coming out. So y'all want to treat yourself like, you know what? I'm gonna isolate myself with like these 3 or 4 projects for the next month or 2, and then I'm gonna start listening to these next ones right here. Even though they been out, I ain't gonna pay attention to any reviews or excuse me, anyone talking about it. I gotta almost schedule a time period to listen to these new releases. And obviously with our age too, with a career and family and kids and stuff, it makes it different than it was when I was a 21-year-old dude in college. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's hard for me to listen to this much music. And I don't think it's gonna slow down because I think that with the way the internet is set up, next year it might be even more music out. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see it slowing down because why would it? Especially if certain artists feel like if I build up my own YouTube pages and stuff like that and keep releasing music, I can monetize off of it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's gonna slow down, man.
Because like even when now that we're recording this before, you know, Christmas, but it's only like 2.5 weeks or whatever until it's 2020, and we are about to be released. Like you got an album by Cameron, Purple Haze 2, that's a little highly anticipated, and you got Lil Face with a collaboration album coming out. Like I want to check them out, and I think Tone, for me, because of the I do and writing sometimes, the best way for me to even hear the joints, forget like really liking something and listening to it all the time, but just to hear them is when I go to the gym. I rarely put on my favorite album because I'm like, oh, Alchemist got a new album, and oh, this one got a new album, like the Eric Sermon album. That's the only way I heard it. I just put it on as what I was going to listen to while I was in the gym.
You know what? I'd be remiss since we're talking about 2018 and 2019. Something very strange I thought about just now. Fill me on this. So in 2018 and 2019, Kanye West, who is a hip hop legend, had 3 projects. Last year, 2018, he had the Ye album and that collab album with Kid Cudi. And then this year he had that Jesus King album. That's 3 Kanye projects in less than 2 years. Yeah, and then Nas had the Nasir last year, and he had the Lost Tapes 2 this year. And me personally, that's like 4 or 5 times where I've been kind of let down by those projects. And I'm like, it should be a big deal that Kanye, and maybe for some people they love it, but Kanye's had his hand in those 3 albums. He had 3 albums, and I don't like them. And then Nas had Nasir, I don't like it. Sound like I don't know what they did in the basement somewhere. It's not even mixed properly. And then the Lost Tapes 2, it's like 4 or 5 joints I know I really do love on them. And the rest of them, it's felt thrown together. So I just think that's crazy that Kanye West and Nas both had projects in 2018 and 2019, and they left so much to be desired.
Yeah, that's a good point, man, because remember, like the anticipation for a new Kanye album, the anticipation for a Nas album, let alone the Lost Tapes 2, and we kind of tend to even happen project, but I wasn't expecting a Kanye and Kid Cudi collaboration, but I wound up liking it. Yeah, it was pretty dope. And again, like you said, when you think about it, a year where a lot of music is coming out and things are just forgettable. I mean, I remember going through the music and looking at the Lost Tapes and feeling like that came out way long ago sometime. You know what I'm saying? When it came out this year.
A few months
and it's crazy. It's ridiculous. Now, Tone, like on my podcast, Hip Hop Now podcast, when I start the year, I like to do it's a new year. What's supposed to happen this year as far as album releases? Most of them came true. You know what I'm saying? The Nas thing did happen. A couple of things happened that we actually got official Ghostface album. But what are some of the things that didn't happen that came out? And one in particular that hasn't happened, and I can't see why they would do it, is the Black Star Reunion album. That was supposed to happen in 2019.
They said it's done already, but what? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like stuff like that has kind of made me feel like I'm glad in one sense. But what's crazy when you think about how many albums that came in 2018, you start to think about, well, who hasn't come out with anything in a minute? Kendrick Lamar? We haven't seen anything from him.
I'm waiting.
TDE's kind of been a little bit quiet as a label, even though we got a Schoolboy Q album that people forget that also came out this year. So it makes me curious about 2020. So I'm going to ask you 2 things. One, final words on 2019 as a year for hip hop, and what are you looking forward to the most about hip hop in 2020?
2019 was solid, man. Like I said earlier, not mad at it. I thought that very good albums came out. You know what I'm saying? I'm still listening to quite a few of them leading on into 2020. Solid. My only disappointment is we saw another young man die of drugs. You know what I'm saying? In 2019 with this this Juice World kid, same way we lost Mac Miller last year. So we still have that element of these young guys are rapping their pain and they're coping with all types of drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, we've all, yes, marijuana and does all kinds of stuff been around forever. We get it, crack, all that. I understand that. But now when I hear the lyrics, it's almost like praising it instead of a long time ago. It was, we look down on people using drugs. You know what I'm saying? And now it's almost celebrated in the music, man. And I don't want to lose a young man every year. I don't want next year before 2020 ends that some other young man who people really had an affection for died, because in his lyrics he's showing he's depressed or in a lot of pain, and people in real life are not, trying to spend time with these guys and get their fame and money. They need help, and they're killing themselves with this drugs, man. So I hope one thing for 2020 is we don't see another young person in the music business die over drugs, man. But I do think as far as the music side, they did a good job. I'm looking forward next year. Like you said, Kendrick Lamar been quiet, man, and he reminds me of somebody who will sneak up and drop a bomb on you. Kendrick Lamar, I can see, June, July, some dope video come out, some dope song that's catchy and get everybody reel back in again. And then all of a sudden, he hit you with that album with a storytelling and all the stuff that he always does in his magnificent body of work. I'm expecting a dope album from Kendrick Lamar before the end of 2020. You know what I'm saying? I'm expecting Jay-Z to release something. You know what I'm saying? I could be totally wrong, but I'm anticipating, I hope I'm right, that Jay-Z is going to release another project. I can see at the end, the fourth quarter, Nas releasing a 5-song EP to clean up this crappy he's done. I can see those things. I would look forward to that. I can even see Pusha T with another project. The Locks project, they've been talking about it. Styles just released another project about a week or so ago that I like. So he stays sharp. You know what I'm saying? I like to hear a Locks project, man. And yeah, man, those are some of the ones that come to mind for me for 2020, man. If I get half of those, man, I'll be very happy. And I'll also be surprised, and I really would like to hear same when we heard that Gang Starr reunion. Rest in peace to Guru. I'm glad what Primo did. Man, I just love to hear a new Pete Rock and TL Smooth joint, man.
Yeah, I think, like, piggybacking off of that, again, 2019, phenomenal year. So much hip hop to go over. It wasn't a wacky year at all. Don't let anybody fool you. There's a number of projects we haven't even named, probably haven't even heard, because we couldn't find the time. It was from all levels. You know what I'm saying? I want more radio rappers to be like DaBaby. DaBaby, not a mumble rapper. He has a personality that's likable. You know what I'm saying? He knows. You watch him perform on Saturday Night Live. He's not for show. He's here to be a performer. He may not be like the nicest spitter or whatever, but what he has is what we really want from any of our MCs, is to be able to relate to what they say. And he says a lot of things that are just straight up relatable. He doesn't live in a cloud. He's not a known drug addict rapper. You know what I'm saying? He's a rapper. You know what I'm saying? And he makes catchy records. And his videos are phenomenal because they're always creative. You know what I'm saying? They're never just...
Yeah, man. I rock with DaBaby, man. I respect this grind.
Like his videos aren't champagne and cars. His videos are concepts. You know what I'm saying? Based off of the record. And that's what I like about it. I want to see more of that from younger artists who are looking to be on the radio and be the #1 pop/rapper situation. But as far as, like, since we on this train of reunions and, old cats coming out with new albums, there got to be a Mobb Deep album somewhere.
Oh, man.
There gotta be some Havoc and Prodigy verses we've never heard, or things they were working on here and there, similar to Gang Starr, where they can just give us 7 songs, maybe 10, maybe a full album or whatever, kind of give us those beats and that whole vibe. Because
I know it has it.
It has to, because when you think about it, we just talked about Griselda, man. And one thing about Benny the Butcher, man, he feels like a new prodigy, the way he puts words together. You know what I'm saying? And you listen to them beats they got, and that's right out of that Mobb Deep, Sinister sound, you know, grimy head nod, boom bap. So I would love to just tune into social media and see Mobb Deep album dropping tomorrow. Here's the first single.
Yeah,
I'd go crazy over that. I also feel like, you know, definitely gonna get something from Kendrick. And I can't wait. You know, he's one of my favorite artists also. I just hope in 2020, like Tone said, you know, we stop making the news for dumb things. You know what I'm saying? Like these battles that don't matter, like Eminem and Nick Cannon, like these things, they just don't matter. You know what I'm saying? With all this hip hop being released, collaborations between old artists and older producers and new artists, and all of this work happening of dope records, and you know, and we kind of focused on, you know, well, who's the next battle. It's almost as if a battle on a big scale is never really about the battle. It's just about people looking for something to trend, because there's no way anybody should care about Nick Cannon talking about Eminem or Eminem talking about Nick Cannon. Like, we shouldn't even care. It should be dismissed easily. But it is what it is, man. So what did y'all think about the year 2019? What are your top 5 hip-hop albums released in 2019? Leave your comments in the comment section below. We'd love to check them out. You know, maybe you can put us on to something we didn't have the time to listen to. We'll definitely check it out. Which leads into something we're about to tell you right now. So Tone said some of his favorite of the year. I said a couple notable joints, but this is the point where we recommend something you should go back and listen to. And since we're in a theme of 2019, our recommendations will reflect that. So my recommendation from 2019, that's not my top 5 and wasn't even named on the show, but still a dope project that's probably in your top 5, Jim Jones, El Capo.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to pretend I was a big Jim Jones fan. Sure, I was a Dipset fan, but I was more of a Cameron fan, and everybody else just came with it. And Jim Jones, I wasn't a business in the beginning because I knew he kind of just started rapping. You know what I'm saying? You could kind of hear it. But brother that's been putting in work with his pen game, this is his magnum opus. He sounds comfortable.
Yeah.
The tracks are perfect for his voice, for his flow, what he got to say. Even the arrangement of the songs being on the album just gives you this tone, tells you this is the type of album it is. It's gangster but reflective. You know what I'm saying? It's hood but it's chill. You know what I'm saying? All at the same time. And you know, regardless of all the Tekashi 6ix9ine stuff that went down in 2019, that also involved Jim Jones, he still put out a really crazy album. And for those people who was on it when it came out and maybe fell off because so many releases, I'm telling you, go back to it and you say to yourself, I might have to make a top 6 because it's really that good. It's really a very dope album. Tony, what did you think about that album, and what's your recommendation?
Like you said, man, you know what? If hip hop had a like NBA most improved player, Jim Jones, the most improved player of 2018, 2019, man. He back-to-back 2 seasons most improved. He the 6th man of the year, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because Jim Jones, man, like you said, he sounds like a whole different MC.
Yeah.
Man, like, it's amazing, man. Me and one of my partners was talking about that the other day. Like, man, Jimmy is out there. He rhyming, his flow is nice and fluid, and just like you said, he sounds like he's been doing it forever. And he didn't always sound that way. You know what I'm saying? So man, dope project, man. You know, every time I've heard him rap over the last 2 years, man, I've been like, yo, it's amazing, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, shout out to Dope, man. He doing it. And for me, my recommendation 2019. This is the year of comebacks. We talked about Black Moon came back out, Gang Starr came back out, Little Brother came back out, Eric Sermon came back out, but another group came back out who I'm a huge fan of, Duck Down, man, Smith and Wesson, man, the album called The All that came out this year, man. It was produced by the Soul Council and Ninth Wonder, of course, down here, North Carolina's own. That's where we are. So, you know, anytime that we have our hand in some hip hop, we love it. You know what I'm saying? So so the Soul Council did The All with Ninth, and it's just from the first track to the last one for me, Tekken still sounded refreshed. They sound like they had Mr. B. Their back and forth style of companionship sounded so dope on the mic, man. You know, the song Illusion is a song that I play on repeat probably once a month. I'll just go to YouTube and put Illusions on, put my headset on. I like the way they rhymed that song, man, and just the meaning behind that song, and just the way they felt throughout the album, man. They just has not missed a beat, man. And I was a fan of them when they came out in '95. I was a fan of them when they turned to the Cocoa Brothers, and I'm a fan again for what they did this year, man. And yeah, man. Did you hear the Smith and Wesson The All, man? What was your thoughts about that joint?
Oh, did I, man? When that joint dropped, every day I was listening to that joint on my commute to and from work. I think what I liked the most about it was I wasn't expecting The Shining 2. Like, I hadn't really liked the Smith and Wesson album, maybe besides the joint they did with Pete Rock, but I'd be lying if I said I'd listen to it often, even though I own it. But the Shining was like me at the height of being a Smith and Wesson fan, as far as the album goes. And when I heard The All, I just loved it because it was the Smith and Wesson I know, but they were just more mature. You know what I'm saying? They had more mature subjects. I mean, any person expecting them to talk about the types of things they was talking about on The Shining need to go back and listen to The Shining. They're just in a different space in life, but you could tell they are the same individuals. That's what makes it dope. It's not like they turned around and they're completely doing something completely different. Like, some people want their rappers to reflect what they think is dope, which in this case would be just hood cats breaking up weed in the hallway, smoking, drinking, shooting, dodging cops and stuff like that. But you can go to any hood and there's an older guy who's tired of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And he's trying to tell other cats what they should and shouldn't do. And, maybe he has a family now. So this album to me was really reflective of that. It surprised me. And what I like, I guess, the most, because this is why I kind of had fell off as a fan, because I didn't always like the production they had through the years. And I always felt like everything didn't match. The tracks on The All are perfect for the Smith and Wesson of 2019. That's right. And I was encouraged by it to like reinstate my fandom as a Smith and Wesson fan, because I felt like they did their thing with this. This is nothing but momentum for whatever the next project is going to be. So I think that's what I really like the most about it. So I thought it was ill and definitely worth anybody's time that wants to go out and check out Smith and Wesson's The All, or even Jim Jones, El Capo, or any of the albums from 2019 we mentioned. Definitely it is worth your time. It was a very good year. So leave your comments in the comment section below. Now, that's going to do it for us for 2019. Obviously, we'll be back in 2020 with some new shows. Silly good ones that you might want to stick around and check out. So how do you do that? Well, you subscribe to this channel on YouTube on the B-Roll Network, or if you want to listen to the audio version, all you got to do is go wherever you listen to podcasts and type in Hip Hop Now Podcast, and in that same feed you will see this podcast, That Time in Hip Hop. And again, If searching for the video on YouTube or looking for the audio on your podcasting app seems like too much, just visit intothedome.com, and right there on Tony's website, you will see links to the video version and the audio version of this podcast. Until next time, y'all, be safe. See you in 2020. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.